Rejoice, everyone. We're back with another Sekhie Reacts to Fate.
And look, our tabs don't even fill up the whole top bar this time.
So remember what you said last episode about us having some chonker episodes lately? You're carrying this one if you want this to be chonker.
You don't understand. It's been so long since we haven't filled up the top bar. It's been like 3 months. Was the last short servant we had was during Halloween.
Can you tell we're doing a 1-star servant this week?
Heeding Leonidas' call, the Spartans went to war.
I hope I didn't get you guys too hyped with that Babylonia hint, because there are so many other servants that could have been, like Ishtar, Eresh, Gilgamesh, Ketz, or
Enkidu,
Tiamat,
Medusa. Yeah. Lots of
all the Babylonia servants we picked one that
Sekhie
my really
favorite.
Likes. But if you're a Fate fan, we really like Leonidas, but also one we do not have a lot on.
So, this is the first servant on my book reports list, of which I have already read the source material book from which I was getting my information. This is my copy of Herodotus' Histories. It is a big boy book, but I actually have had to read the majority of this for different classes. And this is a lovely volume that includes battle maps and formations and such, which makes it really easy to understand. I'm personally a big fan of that. I love this copy. Highly recommend it. I've read it many times. I've got a whole series of this particular set of books. So, Herodotus is one of the main historians who tells the story of Leonidas. He is not the only one. I believe Plutarch and a couple other historians also do a lot of work writing about his life. He was a very important character in the history of Greece, as a matter of fact. So that's very interesting. Also, I'm in an ancient Greece class right now, so we spent 2 weeks talking about Sparta and Leonidas. And then last week my professor gave an impassioned speech about all the benefits of becoming an Athenian citizen, which was really funny because it was full propaganda, middle of class time. It was don't you want to get paid to vote? It's that's not democracy. So I guess I'll start. I've got a little Spartan proverb up here at the top.
Give us your words of wisdom.
Our city walls are our shields, and our borders are determined by our spears. Which is very indicative of the Spartan mindset, which I'm going to go into a little bit, I'm sure, after I finish talking about Leonidas. So, as always, basic info. Leonidas I, circa about 540 BC to the 19th of September, 480 BC. He was the co-ruler of Sparta from 489 to 480 BC with King Leotychidas. So Sparta had this fun system. I don't know if you've heard of this, but Sparta was part oligarchy, part monarchy, and part democracy, and that they had a council of elders, a general assembly, and then they had 2 co-kings. And the point of the co-kings was that one would lead the military and one would rule in the domestic sphere, so that if one was killed or assassinated or went insane, the other one was there to pick up the slack until another one was invested into the role, right? They also came from 2 particular families, although with revolutions, one of these families at times would change, and sometimes it would be one family and then a new family would come in, just depending on who held the power in Sparta at the time. So in that aspect, he was the 17th king of the Aegeid line, which reigned from about 930 to 215 BCE. His line claims descendancy from both Heracles and Cadmus, who are both sons of Zeus in Greek mythology. He's the son of King Anaxandridas II. I'm so surprised I managed to say that name the first time. And he succeeded his half-brother Cleomenes I, and he was succeeded by his son Pleistarchus. And he is notable for his participation in the Second Greco-Persian War and the Battle of Thermopylae. The main sources for him, obviously, are Herodotus, as I mentioned, and Plutarch. Although there are a few other errant, mentions of him. Butts.
Ass.
So life info. His mother was both his father's wife and niece. Nick Nack.
Sweet home
Alabama. What in the Alabama? And she had been barren for quite a while. The elected administrators at the time tried to get him to remarry, which was possible in Spartan society for fertility issues. Spartan society actually gave a lot of freedom to women in certain areas, marriage being one of them. Women could choose not to marry, not to bear children, or to remarry if their husbands could not give them children, and men could choose to remarry if their wives could not give them children.
Progressive.
Yeah, they were also in line for inheritance of land, and they basically controlled the domestic sphere entirely because men did not live at home. I'm going to get into this later. So, but his father claimed his wife was blameless in the infertility, and because of this, he was allowed to take a second wife at the same time. The second wife was a descendant of Chilon of Sparta, who was one of the 7 sages of ancient Greece, and gave birth to Cleomenes the. But a year after that, his first wife had Doreus, and then Leonidas, and possibly Leonidas either had a twin named Cleombrotus or a younger brother named Cleombrotus. Fun fact, Sparta is one of the only Greek city-states to be attributed the practice of male infanticide. Not female infanticide. Male infanticide, specifically. So, Anaxandridas dies in 520, and Cleomenes succeeds between then and 516 at some point. Darius is absolutely outraged and attempts to establish a colony in Africa, fails, seeks his fortune in Sicily, and dies. Leonidas would then marry Cleomenes' daughter, Gorgo, and succeed to the throne in about 490. So he was the heir to the Aegean throne and a full citizen at the time of the Battle of Sekhie in 494 BCE. The Spartan forces under Cleomenes defeated the Argives and established Spartan dominance all across the Peloponnese. This is actually the battle with the highest number of casualties within a single battle during the classical period of ancient Greece. Also, when the Persians sought submission from Sparta and were rejected in 492-491 BCE. So his elder brother Cleomenes was deposed for insanity and fled into exile when Athens asked for help in the first Persian invasion of Greece that ended at the Battle of Marathon in 490 BCE, another famous battle in, ancient Greek history. So Plutarch once wrote that someone told Leonidas he was not superior but for his title, and Leonidas responded, "But were I not better than you, I should not be king." Baller move! This is actually likely a reference to the stringent training and physicality required of all Spartan men. So, because I just did this unit in Greek history, that means I can really go into it a little bit, but in the Spartan system, boys and girls were raised with a level of toughness expected. They were expected to go without clothing during all seasons of the year. They only had a single pair of shoes, or they were expected to walk kind of barefoot and toughen their bodies up. And it was actually not considered inappropriate for women to do this because it was participating in a cultural practice. That's a statue of Athena. You can tell by the shield. So boys would be taken when they were very young and put into army groups where they would essentially be forced to do an insane amount of training and sleep in barns, in groups to keep warm because they weren't really allowed blankets and stuff like that, or not a whole ton of them. And they would live like that until they hit their age of majority, and then essentially from about age 2 to 30, they would function as soldiers in the army. Men were actually not really permitted to marry until their 30s, and even once they got married, they weren't allowed to live at home with their wives. They actually lived in their army groupings, in barracks, and they were only permitted to visit their wives occasionally, which did lead to low birth rates in the population, which became a problem later on when they were having not enough kids to support themselves. They also didn't naturalize citizens from outside, which was another bigger problem. And so after age, when they got older, they were finally allowed to come back and live with their wives and that sort of thing. So Spartan society was very strict to men predominantly. And partially because of this, women were educated, right? Because they were expected to handle the household stuff and economic stuff and all that sort, which is pretty interesting. So Leonidas was chosen to lead the combined Greek forces against the Second Persian invasion in 481 BC. The desire for him to lead is highlighted by the coalition preferring Athenian leadership to Leonidas or Pausanias, who was the regent for his son Pleistarchus 2 years after his death. It wasn't a reflection on the power of Sparta or their military, but more towards the actual quality of Leonidas as a military leader. Like, they valued him as a military leader so much that they would not accept another Spartan controlling the army after that. Am I boring you?
Go off.
I'm sorry. I love Leonidas. So, Thermopylae and the Second Persian invasion. So, in 480 BC, the Achaemenid Empire under Xerxes I came against the Hellenic League under Leonidas I. The major battles were Thermopylae and Artemisium, which happened approximately simultaneously during the same year, I think within like a 6-month period. The Second Persian invasion by Xerxes was belated response to the failure of Darius I's invasion. The Athenian Themistocles suggested stopping the army at Thermopylae and the navy at Artemisium to hold back the advance of the Persians. 7,000, led by Leonidas, faced essentially 120 to 300,000 Persians at Thermopylae. They held them off for 7 days in history's most famous last stand. The 300, like the myth of the 300, is kind of not true because that would have only been counting the Spartan citizens. But the force that remained was incredibly small. It was merely a fraction of the 7,000. Ultimately, they would be defeated, but the Greek navy would then defeat Persia at Salamis, and a year later defeat the remaining Persians in Greece, winning the Second Persian invasion. So, primary source is Herodotus, although the Sicilian historian Diodorus also did an account that mostly matches Herodotus's, which gives us some confidence that since the two of them corroborate, they're likely relatively accurate. There's a few other from Ctesias and Simonides and Plutarch. So, basic background, get fucked, Darius! Hashtag 499 BCE. That is actually what I have written here. In all caps. So both Athens and Sparta executed Persia's ambassadors that were sent to ask them to surrender. Just executed outright. An Egyptian revolt postponed Darius's Greek plans, and he died. Xerxes quelled this rebellion, and then he would cross the Hellespont with his army on 2 pontoon bridges in 480 BCE, beginning the invasion. Athens and Sparta would lead the Hellenic League against them. In the preparation stage, right, the Persian army was relatively slow through Thrace and Macedon, and the news reached the Hellenic League in August. However, August in Sparta was the Carnia festival, where military activity was forbidden by law, which is incidentally why they didn't make it to the Battle of Marathon, because they couldn't march on certain days, so the Spartan force didn't arrive at Marathon until the battle was over, which kind of sucks. Also, this was the same year as the Olympic Games were being held, and during the years the Olympic Games were held, there was an Olympic truce where states were not allowed to march their armies across the borders of other polis, which was another diplomatic issue being faced. But on this occasion, the F4s, the elected officials, determined that urgency in this case could override tradition and justify an advance to block the pass. Leonidas would take 300 citizens, men of the royal bodyguard. According to Herodotus, the Spartans consulted the oracle at Delphi, and the oracle responded, "O ye men who dwell in the streets of broad Lacedaemon," Lacedaemon was another name for the area that Sparta was in, "either your glorious town shall be sacked by the children of Perseus," which is a reference to the fact that Xerxes traces his familial line to Perseus, the hero, "or in exchange must all through the whole Laconian country mourn for the loss of a king, descendant of great Hercules." So, mourn for the loss of a king, descendant of the great Hercules, which Remember, I said Leonidas' line claimed descendancy from Hercules and Cadmus, the sons of Zeus. So that's the translation from Rawlinson. There's some differences in other translations of this prophecy, but it essentially says the same thing every time. Cool. Herodotus says that Leonidas was certain he would die, and therefore he only took 300 Spartans of the royal bodyguard that had living sons at the time, because he did not want to take people who didn't have sons, because they still had the capacity to give sons to Sparta. By the time Leonidas reached Thermopylae, the Greek force numbered 7,000 from the accumulation they'd picked up along the way. Plutarch and Herodotus record this exchange. A soldier, because of the arrows of the barbarians, it is impossible to see the sun. Leonidas, won't it be nice then, if we shall have shade in which to fight them? This is the most metal line. This man's like, I can't see them because they're shooting too many arrows. It's cool. We have shade. We won't get sunburned. Awesome. So Xerxes, when the battle was kind of getting ready to start, Xerxes sent an emissary to Leonidas, offering the Greeks freedom and the title Friends of the Persian People and the opportunity to resettle on better land. Leonidas refused, and Xerxes sent a written message that said, hand over your arms. And Leonidas responded with the most famous quote attributed to him, molon labe, or come and take them. Which, my guy, you knew you were gonna die, and you were just like, come at me, bro. Outside, now, parking lot. So, to the battle! On the first day.
War!
Yes. On the first day, Xerxes sent his archers, and then the Medes and the Scythians, numbering 10,000. Phalanx, bitches. Then he, because the phalanx defeated them. So they defeated like 10,000 of his army on the first day. And then he sent in the Immortals, which were 10,000 of his elite troops, who made no headway, yet again, against this force of Greeks. And on the second day, due to the traitor Ephialtes, curse on his name, Xerxes sent 20,000 of his Immortals, the elite force, to flank. On the third day, discovering this, Leonidas called a war council. He offered to the other Greek forces to escape, and he and his Spartans would stay and hold the army back so that they might regroup with a larger force further inland to fight again. 2,000 troops agreed to stay with him. 700 Thespians, 300 Spartans, 400 Thebans, and the rest made up of Helots and some assorted people of other areas. What? Kitty. Leonidas and his 300 were to hold the rear guard for them to escape, and by staying, he and his men could save over 3,000 men in the process. The Greeks were annihilated. In the aftermath of the battle, when Leonidas' body was brought to Xerxes, in anger, he ordered it decapitated and crucified, which was uncharacteristic, as up to this point Xerxes had been relatively merciful and treated fallen Greeks with relative respect. But he was so enraged that he was like, we're gonna destroy this shit. After the Persians' departure, the Greeks... Detail. After the Persian departure, the Greeks would bury their dead on the hill and erect a stone lion. 40 years later, Leonidas' bones were returned and reburied, and yearly games are held in his honor in Sparta. Leonidas' legacy. Many monuments, including a statue of Leonidas with his spear and shield, were erected. There's an epitaph of Simonides says, "O stranger, tell the Lacedaemons that we here, obedient to their words, that we lie here, obedient to their words." Or, in a more romantic, "Go stranger, and to Lacedaemon tell, that here, obeying her behest, we fell. Us who were to defend." Cicero wrote, "Die hospes Spartae noste hic vidisse iacentes dum sanctis patria legibus obose quimur." Tell, stranger, to Sparta that you saw us lying here since we followed the sacred laws of the fatherland, referring to the laws and traditions of Sparta, that it was better to fall in battle than to allow Sparta to be invaded or taken, or to turn coward. which is humbling, to be honest. All historical sources agree that Leonidas knew he was to die, and he still chose to stay and sacrifice himself, knowing that he would die in a brutal way. So I do have some little fun tidbits and legends to kind of lighten this up a bit, hopefully. Plutarch listed this. He says that Gorgo, his wife, asked Leonidas what she should do if he did not return, and he said, "Marry a good man and have good kids." Nice of him. Upon arriving at Thermopylae, the Persians apparently sent a scout, and what the scout reported back was that the Spartans were involved in calisthenics and combing and braiding each other's hair whilst laughing and talking boisterously on the field. Xerxes did not believe this, and he asked Demaratus, who was an exiled Spartan king that was part of his retinue, and Demaratus said that was how they prepared for war, calling the Spartans the bravest men in all of Greece. A Persian envoy offered Leonidas kingship of all of Greece, and Leonidas said, "If you had any knowledge of the noble things in life, you would refrain from coveting others' possessions. But for me to die for Greece is better than to be the sole ruler over the people of my race." After the battle, Xerxes asked what the Greeks were trying, and why so few men. An Arcadian deserter said that many were participating in the Olympic Games, and that's why they did not come. Xerxes asked what the prize was. So the prizes for the Panhellenic Games were wreaths: laurel wreath, olive wreath. Each of the Panhellenic Games had a specific wreath to the god it was dedicated to. Tigranes, one of the Persian commanders, responded, "Ye gods, what men have you brought us to fight against? Men that fight not for gold, but for glory and honor." In reference to the kind of fervent fighting that the Spartans would participate in and what they had participated in.
Look,
there have been, and in the modern day, there have been many monuments and statues erected to Leonidas and the 300. We even had the comic, the graphic novel, the 300, and the movie, the 300. I mean, this is the most well-known final stand.
There are two very dangerous people to fight. People who fight because they have to, and people who fight because they enjoy it.
Yeah.
Of which the Spartans were both.
Both is good. So, I've done my bit in extending the length of this episode.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do my part. I apologize. You can see how many tabs I have open. So, Leonidas.
Yes! It's been a while since I saw the Leonidas boy.
Yeah, you've seen him in Babylonia at this point.
But I love him so much. Oh my goodness. Yes. I love it.
So he's got
Mankini.
He's got one of those older designs, if you notice.
That's fine. My favorite thing about him is his first design. He's just in a mankini. It's very, of him.
Are you ready?
There's a... Did you notice there's a...
It's in the first design as well.
No, but it's very noticeable in the... Look there. Okay. I approve. There's a reference to the statue with the spear and shield. I love this. With the cape and the Spartan helmet and the sword and the spear and the shield.
Yeah, so Leonidas here is...
And the greaves and bracers. Oh.
Leonidas here is a lancer servant.
He has a spear.
Yeah. What did you think?
Right?
So he's capable of rallying even the most dense, hot-blooded men into a powerful strategic force, capable of holding off armies several times larger than his own.
Several times? Somebody in the comments, do the math. 7,000 versus a possible 300. Several times does not begin to describe this. Even if you go with the low estimate of 120,000, it still does not begin to describe the sheer outmatching.
He himself is best described as a himbo with a brain.
Yeah, no, Leonidas is famous for being a very strategic man, you know? Like, that they valued his leadership so much that he led the entire Hellenic League. Notably, in many other times when all of Greece allied, Athenian generals would lead. This is one of the few cases where a Spartan general was chosen to lead because of his prowess.
Yeah, so one of the big things is he's constantly pushing others around him to train alongside him. Like, just constant training. Like, look at them muscles.
Look at them thighs. I love it. I love it.
This is a man that never skips leg day.
This man never skips any day.
So his illustrator here is actually Shimoudon. We haven't seen anything else done by them, but we will see them this year. So this is our first servant by this artist.
Okay. Leave Knick Knack alone.
No, that's
Come on, kitten.
So I guess if you want to quickly skim through this here, see if anything catches your eye.
Let's see. Yeah, Achaemenid Empire, Xerxes I, overlapping with the Carnea Festival, overlapping with the Festival of Zeus, which was what the Olympic Games were held for. And the Allied force fell into a state of affairs where it was impossible to move their large armies. This is the descendants of Perseus and the king who descended from the bloodline of Heracles. It's the line from the oracle. Thermopylae, yeah. The betrayal. Ugh, curse his name. There's the words curved by the poet Simonides. They've defended their agreement, died a noble death, and here departed for the afterlife. Wait, go up for a second. Sorry, I'm up a little. I was just looking at the personality. Intellimacho.
Intellimacho. Himbo with a brain.
Yeah, you train your muscles yourself. In this case, you will be rewarded. A king who properly grasps his status quo. Yeah, amazing.
These are the chapters.
Yep.
So here's his actual weaponry. Might as well. I can't.
It's fine. I can see it. It's a spear and shield.
His big thing, though, is he's really good at defensive battles.
Rear guard's pride. Unique skill that becomes more powerful the more disadvantageous the situation. I mean, think of it this way. Even if, right, let's say 2,000 men remain, not the 300 as depicted, right, in the kind of the popularization of the myth. Even at 2,000, and let's say conservatively he had defeated the 20,000 sent against him the first day, that's still a minimum of 2,000 versus 100,000 or 2,000 versus 280,000. That's so outnumbered it's not even realistic. The fact that he has battle continuation only feels right.
Fight past the point he absolutely should die. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Warrior's war cry.
Take a guess at what his NP is called.
Isn't it the strength of 3,000? The strength of 300? Thermopylae and Amotea?
Yep.
Yeah.
That said, I'm shocked that it doesn't have a link here.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Like if I click that, yeah, interesting.
It just takes you back up to the top.
We should be able to link it here.
There it is.
That might have just been an oversight.
Thermopylae. This is Sparta! Oh, God, I love it so much. I've actually seen this in Babylonia.
So I'm about to show you something deeply disappointing.
What?
The FGO animation for it.
Oh, I've seen Babylonia, so I'll just cling to that.
That's it.
Oh, that makes me unhappy.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's one of those early servants that really hasn't had an animation update at all because he's kind of neglected.
That makes me really unhappy. Leonidas is such an amazing historical... I had so much fun researching him and finding all the fun little quotes attributed to him and interactions.
I hope he gets more eventually.
Yeah, no, because in Babylonia, we can't show Babylonia, but
No.
in Babylonia, right? What happens is he summons what looks like in the anime to be like lines of warriors. Yeah,
you can see the GIF here.
The little GIF. Yeah, they're the line of the 300 and the shields of the 300. It's so cool.
So the thing about his NP here, because this displays it, he builds a defense, and as
Yeah.
his defense gets hit, because he creates a defense equal to the line of the 300, and once he takes the hit, the more of those men that would have fallen, the stronger the counterattack that gets launched, which is here.
Yeah. It was so epic when I saw it in Babylonia. You were there when I saw it in Babylonia, and you know I loved it. I was like, the strength of 300! Yes! Oh, and he looks so cool attacking. Oh, my stunning.
Leonidas needs an animation update.
Leonidas needs an animation update.
But we do have an arcade. I don't know what this is like. To be honest, I've never seen this.
Well, hopefully it's better than the FGO. Honey,
Okay.
honey. Come on. No, we don't eat my hair. Oh, big chunky boy. Look at them thighs. Sparta, Leonidas. Oh. Knack. That's epic. That's so fucking epic. Not quite as good as the anime, but that looked amazing.
It's never going to be quite as good as the anime.
Yeah, but that did look amazing.
So yes, that is when he eventually, one day, please Delight or Lasagna, please give him an animation update. It's probably going to look like that.
Oh, I'm so disappointed. He doesn't have better.
Yeah, the FGO game, he is one of those
deserves
servants
better.
that needs it. If you believe it, we just did Shuwakamaru.
Yeah.
That was like that animation update only happened after the Babylonian anime came out. So it was like 4 or 5 years without an animation update. For that.
Oh. Adorable.
So yeah, you can see you're starting to see the difference between early servants and newer servants.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is Leonidas. Let's move over to some CEs here. I have no idea how extensive this will be.
God, he looks so cool. Oh, I love him. Awesome. Others. Ten out of 10. Oh, there's a few.
Yeah. More than Benkei.
That's true. That's true.
Alright, let's get at this. So we have...
Hot gate. We will die here. That is our fate. A general is given his soldiers' lives, and a general must in turn give everything he has to bring victory to them. However, this is a battle we cannot win. This is a battle which leads to tomorrow, one which will bring our brethren victory as they step over our corpses. But is it okay for us to take this path? Do any of you not value your own life? The soldiers laughed off my worries with all their hearts. Very well, let us protect this gate. For honor, for courage, for love, we protect, we fight, and we die. That's a direct reference to the fact that in the War Council, he told all of the other people besides his Spartans to leave to fight another day. And yet, 1,700 people refused to leave him. Even though they weren't Spartans. Even though they had no creed that would require them to remain at the battle and not fight another time.
You guys don't understand what adorable this is happening.
There's a kitten on the disc. Iron marshmallows. Marshmallows made from iron. To put it simply, they're hunks of metal, no more no less. You can expect them to deal great damage to others when thrown, but in order to throw one, you would need to be quite strong. In other words, you must train, master. He just gave him bullets.
Yep.
Muscle cavalier. Wait,
so that's Leonidas carrying.
Is that Rama?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. Who do we recognize here?
Is that Fergus?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know who's directing them. Do I?
You do not know that person.
Okay, and I don't know the other person, the blonde. Isn't that the same guy who was doing the wrestling match with
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, I'm gonna check for spoilers real quickly.
Okay.
Oh, you're good.
Bulging muscles and surging blood compel the body to move. They cooperate to move forward and challenge one's limitations. Victory doesn't always mean beating the enemy. It can also be a display of someone reaching their absolute pinnacle. Nice. So, I don't know who the main person in this is.
That's Liz.
Oh, okay. I thought it might have been. I was like, it looks like Liz.
That's Liz in her Murica outfit.
That's it. The stripes. I always get confused by the stripes.
You see Leonidas with his NP in the background.
Yep. So I can read this. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
A song sung with trembling joy, a valorous roar unleashed. The battle between these two spears is as vivid as it is intense. Awesome.
Just mashing it. So this is actually
our
really
hearts on our sleeves.
This is really sweet because if you saw a little bit of the anime prior to Leonidas' death, Nash was training with Leonidas, and that was like a big part of her.
Yeah, and he's like out of armor and like interacting. Like this is more him as like a fellow warrior training.
Yeah.
Shields are made for protection. They exist to keep the bearer from losing, to give them a chance to seize victory. Believe in yourself and only look ahead. Do not be clouded with doubt. Doing so will make your shield proof against all threats.
Bear Kings.
Okay, I do know two people here.
Who do you know here?
I know the guy on the left.
You do?
I pulled him when I play. Well, I don't. Obviously, I haven't researched him, but like I know who he is because I pulled him in the game.
Give me a second here, and I'll check for spoilers for the other guy.
Okay, because I don't know the other guy.
Okay, you don't know the other guy. But there's no spoilers here.
Okay. Show us your might using only your body. Show us your strength using only your body. A king is always present at the place that you are heading to until the day the next king is crowned. These have all been so inspirational. Like, holy shit. Man, that would motivate me, which is completely in character, for this servant. These are all highly motivational.
So yeah, that is Leonidas here.
I love it.
Can we mourn
love
for his
him so
treatment
much.
in FGO?
Yes. The moment of silence for Leonidas. His sacrifice at Thermopylae that allowed over 3,000 Greeks to fight another day and win against the Second Persian invasion. And fuck Xerxes the First. Also for his treatment in Fate.
He gets really good treatment in the anime.
It's good. He deserves it.
But the main FGO game, the fuck is wrong with you, Lasagna?
Yeah, you're the worst. How dare you. My boy. My precious boy. There aren't really any figures of him either. I know. I searched.
I mean, people that like him, but he is not one of the more popular servants.
I love him.
Partially just because of his ranking. He's so low star in games.
I don't
one of the early one
care.
Stars.
I love Leonidas. I haven't gotten him in game yet, or I would be using him constantly. You don't understand.
It's because I moved him back.
I know, but Leonidas would work so well now with me with the bow.
Because he's supposed to appear in Septim.
I cannot wait to get Leonidas in campaign. I love Leonidas. This is my favorite servant this month, hands down. I mean, I liked Tamamo, I liked Ushi Wakamatsu, but Leonidas was definitely my favorite servant this month. I love all of the attention and detail. Like, there wasn't much in his backstory, but the attention and detail paid to King Leonidas the First of Sparta was stunning, you know? Even so far as the rhyme from the Oracle and all that. I loved it. I'm a huge fan. Nah, it won't pick him up.
Oh.
Not unless I lift him up by the mic. Which I have done before. The kitten is still sitting on the desk purring. I got toe beans. Toe beans, toe beans, toe beans, toe beans.
The final shot of the video.
Kitty. Actually, we still have to give a hint for the next video.
Oh, yeah. The next one was...
No. They're gonna love the next video. Like, comment, subscribe.